This meeting is being recorded.
Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Living Mythology, I am proud to bring you Mythic Atlantis. Now, my Mythic Atlantis, the one I grew up with, was a Minoan Mycenaean type of Atlantis. And in the years that have passed since my childhood, I've explored many different Atlantises. And they have some things in common, and they have many things that are different. Today, we continue our exploration of Atlantis with Nick Curto of Disclosure Network New York and the Urantium book, and Marc Brinkerhoff, who is a channel for celestial forces. Greetings and welcome, gentlemen. And lady, let us not forget Phyllis Brinkerhoff.
There she is.
Welcome. Very happy to be here. Happy to be with you guys and gal.
Now, Nick, we'll start with you. If
Okay.
you could share your Atlantis and the Atlantises that you, as the founder and director of Disclosure Network New York, have been exposed to in your quest.
You know, it's been such a journey. My life journey has been amazing. I mean, as I look back on it, I think a lot of people, when to take the time to look back and see what happened and then the next point, and then that sent you to the next point, and then an extraordinary door opened up and a next point came. And my life has been all that. It's still going on. In fact, I can honestly say more so now than ever before. And that's very exciting to me. And doors are opening and people are coming into my life. It's just an extraordinary time. Now, as far as the incredible subject of Atlantis goes, I do believe with all my heart that there are, and were way back and probably are now, cases where civilizations, large and small, have flourished, have progressed, and in some cases have either left the planet or their surroundings, their actual land has gone into the ocean, and they pretty much has dissolved their civilization. Although there are survivors, and that's a whole other story about survivors of huge civilizations that were demolished very quickly. And you know, I read something recently, I think I mentioned it in one of our programs, that we know, I believe they said 6% of what's underneath the world's oceans. I was absolutely astounded with that number, that most of the world's oceans, we don't know what's underneath there. And to this day, divers and deep sea equipment have been going down and finding lost civilizations. Unbelievably so. I've seen pictures that the divers have taken, huge steps. I mean, way up, I guess, at the bottom of the ocean, going way up, towers, fortresses, roads, buildings that they're just being discovered, and incredible statues that were either of the people or their animals that they knew that were there in their country and their civilization. And it's just an extraordinary story that keeps continuing and on and on. And we're talking about, you name it, India, Africa, even the polar regions. So many new discoveries are taking place right now, and documents are coming to our knowledge that this is the tip of the iceberg, that there's so much more that we don't know. And it's more than I even ever dreamt. I know for a fact that what we have in our history books will probably replaced as, well, that's what they knew then, but that's not really what it was at all. And the dates are wrong, and a lot of the facts are really completely wrong, that we're still learning a lot. And one thing changes another, as you well know, and then you have to rethink everything. And I think that when the three of us went to school and we have our history books, if you still have them, I happen to have a couple, and it reads like, it reads like comics, that we were taught that then. And it's none of that is really where it really was happening at all. And the facts have to be completely rethought and explored and put into new history books, because these history books are comic books now, pretty much. And that's pretty extraordinary. My group has, I have to say, my group, Disclosure Network New York, now celebrating our 22nd year. I have never had such wonderful friends and colleagues around me that I every day I thank God that I'm surrounded with some of the most amazing deep researchers from all over the place. That includes London, that includes Hawaii, all Canada, all over the tri-state area, Florida, and they send me what they are researching and found. And they also send me the documents about where they got the information, which is also good. And then I put it out. I would say I'm sending maybe 10, at least, sometimes 20 emails a day.
Wow.
Day. I mean, all of a sudden I'm like this, not an editor, but simply trying to give them the cutting edge of what's going on right now. And this goes into, name it, medicine, ETs, UFOs, abductions, all kinds of paranormal experiences that they have had themselves or that they've researched. It's just mind-boggling what's really there when you look hard at what's going on. And it really changes your view of reality. Absolutely changes your view of what's real. And again, I'm always blown away with the knowledge that we're learning right now, both good and bad. There's some very exciting areas that we're now researching and that we're getting data on. And there are also some really shocking, very disturbing things that are going on also, which I know this is not the program for that, but it's just also extraordinary where we're being led as a world, of human beings, and where we should be and where we're going. And that is a program I hope we can do sometime, because there's a lot going on. Again, back to Atlantis, I've always felt a very special place. Every time I hear that word, it excites me. Atlantis, it's the promised land. It's what the future of the ancients had. It probably wasn't in one place. I don't believe that's true. I think that there were civilizations that were destroyed by natural phenomenon, and they got in boats and went to other places. And that's another story about how they survived, the ones who did survive, and where they went, and what happened then to them. Again, it goes on so many different directions. I'm always excited to read about any comments researchers have about, yes, it's fiction. No, it wasn't fiction. There's parts of that are real. I think you can kind of piece it together. There's a lot there. And the more you look at it, the more you realize we still are at the tip of the iceberg of what was going on and is going on right now.
Very good points. And I know in my studies too, there appear to be, we're using the word Atlantis as code for a lot of different things. And the more research I've done, the more I've seen that there was an empire in the Mediterranean on that side of the Pillars of Hercules. And outside of there, in the Atlantic, there seems to have been, a civilization of some sort. And I'm sure that they met at some point, because there are too many anomalous synchronicities that occur on both sides of the Atlantic. And there are, as you pointed out, too, all these artifacts. And as we progress in our dating of things on the planet, we've been pushing the story of humanity further back. And now that they found ruins like a Göbekli Tepe, the timeline of Plato, who said that it was 9,000 years before his time, it seems realistic, whereas until these things were found, people were saying, oh, he exaggerated, he was telling a tall tale, he might have based it on the memory of Santorini, which used to be Thera before it exploded. But now they're finding that no, he was right. There were civilizations back then that were capable of a lot more than we give credit for. And these civilizations existed when we thought that people were living in caves and first learning how to do agriculture thousands of years before then. So we have a lot to explore, and I agree with you that the books, when they're written again, or the computer data record will reflect and laugh at how we thought of things, how us primitives considered things to be during our primitive time.
Hercules, I just want to throw in one thing too that I didn't mention before, and that is the extraordinary exact cutting of huge stones that looked like lasers were cutting them. It wasn't like chiseling like an ancient group of people with hammers. It's not like that. You couldn't put a credit card between the blocks, and they're huge, they're gigantic blocks, steps and buildings that are underneath the ocean they're finding, and the skill that was used to build them. How in the world did they do it? I mean, so again, was it from some advanced technologies that were developed, or hello, here we go, did they get knowledge and help from ETs that came to our planet and that did help them? And I would go with that. I think that that's a big chunk of the answer, is that we got and have been getting help all along with many civilizations. And there's been research with some of the artwork that we're uncovering. And it seems to me as though some of those beings being pictured have nothing to do with human beings at all. They're picturing another form of humanity from other places, from other regions. So anyhow, it's so exciting.
And we will continue with our UFO entity Enigma show. In fact, we have a new episode tomorrow, and both of these esteemed gentlemen and the one esteemed lady will be participating in that on the morrow with some other panelists. And we used to have an ancient alien type show. So we're bringing that back, and Mythic Atlantis will continue and will expand to include other civilizations, because there was Pam, Vesuvia, Lemuria. There were a host of other lost lands that we have records of. So we'll be branching out and looking at those as well. And I'm very honored that today, the Brinkerhoffs, Marc and Phyllis, who started and gave us so far 2 parts on Atlantis and brought into it the crystal skulls that people have been curious about since the movie with Indiana Jones. So now we continue their adventures with all things Atlantean. Before you start, Marc, on new material, can you briefly summarize, according to your spiritual contacts, what was Atlantis? What have you been told about Atlantis?
Well, we used to visit Atlantis, and we've been working, my crew and I have been working in this solar system for millions of years, actually watching the Earth be formed a long time ago. So we've been here for a long time, but we come from other places and another galaxy, actually. We've observed it from many different perspectives, from oversoul perspective, where we come through into the higher, we call a higher Etherian form, which is another dimensional space. This is first plane, as we call it here, the physical density we're in right now on our levels. Then in between all these planes are frequency. On this plane 1 are dimensions. Yeah. And I always get the mix up with my tongue type. So we got planes or dimension, I'm sorry,
a plane
and a level. Then we have in between there dimensions. So we're getting confused sometimes by saying 7th dimension, but it's really a plane if we're going from the planet Earth out into frequency. But in between the first plane to the second plane are many multiple dimensional planes, which we could say are planes, but they're frequencies. And so within all those, we have the first plane level, a gray, an alien gray, let's call them that, they're physical people.
Well, let's just say we exist on the first plane, the lowest level of, or the lowest frequency of the first plane.
Right.
That's the thing that
This is
most
what
people
people
on
don't
this
understand.
planet do not comprehend. And some races, like the
Greys or
reptilians, can
reptilians.
kind of go back and forth between a frequency of this slower first frequency
Plane,
on
yep.
the first plane
Yep.
and a little faster frequency that's in their dimension. So they can
Right.
operate in 2 dimensions. What Mark doesn't ever say, and I get mad at him for, is that when he talks about the fact that he used to visit, he's been visiting this solar system for millions of years as a high Etherian. At the high Etherian level, we're not exactly sure if you would say, you know, was this the 20,000th frequency or dimension that he was operating from? But these are the dimensions where we as beings we don't even die anymore. We just come and go
Just
as
come
we
and go.
please. We don't need food. We're literally almost in a heaven-like frequency. We could live as long as we want. But the thing that makes it good to work within these first levels is the fact that if you're still even an extremely high Etherian, you can easily come in and out of a first level density and
Mhm.
work with the people, which is what Mark did down through time, working with civilizations, you know, Native
the Hopis
Americans.
and, yeah,
Am I
and
getting
too.
that right? Did I
Yeah.
explain that
Yeah,
properly?
because I was getting it. I was never telling people exactly what it meant. I was just not saying it the way I was supposed to. We're in a plane, the first plane. This is this dense physical level. And what you don't see, not we won't say ghosts or people who passed on, but there's a frequencies here with us that they're invisible to us.
Right.
And that's part of the dimensions within the first plane. So yeah, a ghost can get caught on a person's, we'll say ghosts for now, can get caught and be walking in their house or whatever it was 100 years ago even. But I'm not going into that. But the Etherians are people on, including Ashtar people and different Phoenicians who are coming through on this domain.
Palladians.
Yes, Palladians and other people from those levels and areas.
Multiple races are and have been visiting. I learned all this from Mark, by the way, but sometimes I just have a clearer way of saying things since I'm the good student. Have been
visiting us.
Have been visiting this solar system for eons. And every time there's a cataclysm, which is coming up soon, 12,000 year cataclysm, the Noah's Ark flood was a half cycle, but the one that's coming up is going to be a biggie, and it's going to really wipe out civilization again.
This is why there's so many.
When
folks.
the Earth becomes habitable again, maybe in 200 or 300 years after the ice age dissipates, and we won't go into the details of that right now, but what will happen is the civilizations, the alien civilizations that will come and start setting up colonies all over the world again. And, infrastructure isn't already here, so it has to be created. They'll bring their technology with them, but still, if you're trying to make a gigantic manufacturing plant to manufacture hover cars or whatever it might be, you still have to start from ground zero, basically, when you're starting all over again on a new planet. And this idea of frequencies and dimensions is pervasive throughout the entire universe. So we're not just talking this solar system or this galaxy. We're talking the entire creation operates like that.
Yeah, on this first plane, and as dimensions go. And
is that clear to everybody what we're talking about?
Sense.
Because the thing that bothers me so many times is that Mark never clarifies where he's coming from. So everybody thinks, well, he's just a first level frequency person or alien, like all of the ones that are visiting the planet now. And that just doesn't be the truth.
No.
Phyllis, I got to say that sometimes I think that Mark is coming from Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, I'm sorry, but I had to throw that in.
Maybe I am.
Maybe he's eating too many.
I had some.
In Mark's defense, if you're here doing things, you have to sometimes just stay very vague, because otherwise you hit across a person's or a culture's defenses in terms of what they believe reality is all about. So if you're here to do something specific, the smoother you can make it for yourself, the more ambiguous or sometimes vague you'll be. And I can vouch for that. I've been working very visibly for decades,
I'm gonna say-
very, very visibly. And I don't trip any alarm bells because I don't try to explain more than I have to for what I'm doing. So if I'm trying to do something to help make people's lives easier, it doesn't matter where I'm from or what I believe about the universe or what my spirit happens to be doing here at this particular time. It's the project that I'm working on that takes the importance. So a lot of my stuff is very slippery and vague, and we're sharing a phenomenal amount of information through the podcast. That's part of what I'm doing. But again, it's a very small, if you look at it really, it's a very small band of information. With all the universe shining lights on that we're doing, we're really not sharing a great deal. So I'll defend Mark on that one. Sometimes it's just better not to explain it.
I get that, but the problem is that we're different. We're not like you. One of our primary goals is to get people to not come back to this frequency, or to understand the frequency that they're actually living in is about as bad as a frequency can get. And at a certain point in spiritual evolution, which is the only thing that we really actually care about, we're trying to get people to think further, higher, and bigger, and realize that, you know what, there's I've incarnated, 300 times, I've incarnated personally myself 50 times. Fortunately, I'm done with incarnating into this level. But now that I know what the truth is, it's very difficult for me to hold back and not try to tell everybody I meet that might listen, look, you don't have to do this. There are just a few things that you can focus on and just understand, which includes forgiveness, which is the biggie. And that means forgive everybody, even the worst of the worst in creation have to be forgiven, because we're not the ultimate judges of their fate. We just have to be brothers and sisters in the light and pray for them, because you know darn well that their own oversouls and higher selves are not happy with what their aspects are doing down on these levels of consciousness. And I've learned all of this from Mark.
Yeah, I've met some higher over parts of some people that are well known on this planet that we all know have done some things. And I've talked with their over self and said, are you aware of what your aspect is doing on planet Earth? And they are aware, and they can't get through because the person is immersed in so much evil or negative things they're doing. So they can't get through. And the best way, and I said to that aspect person, soul, oversoul, I said, well, there's a lot of us praying for them to get through on these frequencies. That means, and that over part was very thankful for that. And this was in another solar system, in our galaxy or outside our galaxy. So their oversouls are in different places too, and there's different aspects to your oversoul. So one could be here, but then you have your higher self form. The other ones are coming through these dimensional planes. So I'm a higher self aspect works in this solar system galaxy right now on these different level planes, and I connect to my next frequency oversoul on another higher plane from the 10th up, where I connect in to my oversoul. So I'm still me, but I'm the higher self aspect when I connect in. So this is how we do it. And I'm going to do a teaching on that sometime for people to understand how we do this, and how many aspects in of the oversoul, many parts of the oversoul are in all places at once right now. So getting to that, I was trying to explain, and Phyllis has been helping me with this, because I say a higher Etherean, and people go, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean right here? It means not right here with us, but in another higher frequency, very in this first plane level when we come through dimensional planes. I'm doing it this way, but really it's like right this, but coming through to get here. And so when I get here, we can form the body form we need at the size we need to work with the people. So we could be 100 feet tall, 17 feet tall, 10 feet tall, etc. But we come through and we form the form, and usually we take on the form we're used to on higher realms, but we will take that form we need, and it's usually the way we look somehow in the Adamic species races that we have, which is looking similar to Ashtar, the Venusians, the people who call they'll call them Nordics. This is a look that we have in many dimensional planes and many other galaxies and
Okay,
places.
I'm gonna
So we
stop.
take on these forms.
I'm gonna have to clarify a little bit right there.
Okay,
The reason Mark is not in that form right now as you see him is because he walked into a body that was being discarded so he could get actually totally
That's
physical.
tomorrow's topic, Phyllis. Tomorrow we're going to explain walk-ins and wanderers and starseeds. So
but in other words, I'm in here, but I'm not Mark. So that's okay. This is the way I'm appearing here. So it's kind of a Yoda thing. But here's what goes on. When we came through these different places, the original Atlantis, we had an Atlant around 250 million years ago. That was a totally different place. All by space races and people came. And that's those giant blocks of like people 100 feet tall would walk up those stones. That's where you get the Titans. That's where you get some of the older information. Then the Atlantis we know of now or speak about was about I have written down all this information from the gang and other people I've known, 5.4 or so million years ago to 1 million BC. So that's when the Atlantis we're talking about occurred. Yeah, there were humans here. Yeah, there were people that looked like people, not like just Neanderthals. And so there were many species, and many are extinct. And those extinct species also mated with the humans. So we're getting a whole mix of DNAs going on. And so, and also what I knew as a child, I would tell my father when I was a kid, I said the Earth at the time I came here was like a giant science lab. And I didn't have a way of saying it. Today we might say, well, it's like gerbils and mice over here in that science lab, and they have rabbits and things, and don't mess with my gerbils and you don't mess with my mice. And that's why we have so many different races too. There's different beings in space that come. We have the first floods that came from, I think it was Africa. It says in modern North America was part of the Atlantis. It was a giant continent, and I remember seeing it from space. It was huge. It was a giant continent, and then we had a border between them, and then another continent on the other side. This was way back then. So Atlantis was originally, or Atlan was a giant continent, then became Atlan.
Pangea, they're calling it now, the scientists who have determined that to be true. We're saying that it was originally one landmass that drifted apart. And if you look at the continents, you can see they kind of fit together roughly. Of course, little pieces fell into the ocean. There was originally one big continent. I'm going to disappear for a second to refill my coffee cup, but I could hear everybody,
Okay.
so I'll be right back.
Well, on here about whatever we were doing here. So the floods came in different times, and the floods were caused by our favorite topic.
Oh, the cataclysms?
Cataclysms were caused by the solar
They're cyclical.
events. The
cyclical cataclysm.
Yeah, cyclical. I call them cyclical. Cyclical solar events that occur. And they happen every so many thousands of years. Could be 12 to 13,000, could be
By the way,
25,000.
I can't help it. I can't help saying it. It's not due to global warming.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
people.
Yeah. It just looks
It's
like a
the
global
sun.
effect like that, but it's the sun. And even as a child, I would tell my mom and my father, mostly my dad, because he was the astronomer guy. I told him we were hearing things about green Earth, greenhouse effects and everything. And my crew would always tell me, well, it's really the sun. And they've always told me, it's the sun. It's this normal planetary movements. And since humans don't live long enough for thousands and thousands of years, they're not going to see it. So they're experiencing small snippets at a time, which would be this event or ice events or hot events. And it's really the pattern of what's going on within our galaxy as well. Remember, the galaxies are moving. And they're moving away. They're going like this. They're not just sitting in one spot spinning, and they're moving. And as these move, they move through new areas of space. Now, right now, our galaxy has moved into what I've seen in space since I was out there, what we call an energy field that's on the higher frequency, but it's moving into this dimension, which is this frequency. So now you've noticed, and people are noticing the changes happening, energy frequency speeding up. And the Earth is moving faster daily.
Yeah.
Not just what it was.
Yeah.
They're tracking it. It's a time on the Earth now, like we say 24 hours. It's really not. It's faster than that. So they just don't talk about it. So we had 85,000 years ago. I wrote this down so I can remember it a bit better. We had Earth going through spasms, 200,000 BC. Those were the first cataclysms happening around Atlantean times. So we had the cracking of the the continents, then that's where you had 15 foot tall people normal. That was their heights. So you also had dinosaurs show up too. So we have different things about the dinosaurs, as we all know about. Some of them are reptilian hybrid that became the reptilians we might know today are saurians. I'll say saurians, because the saurians were the dinosaur-like ones. The reptilians are from another area in space, we'll call Sirius and other places beyond. So they come from different areas. But their species was from that too. So you see, they did come here with a formation of creatures as well. And maybe they were annihilated. There's different things that were said in the past. We want people say a meteor hit, but they're also thinking a nuclear explosion occurred because they're finding, remember, radiation in the bones of the T-Rexes. And one of our favorite shows, where one of my friends on Facebook, Mike Barra, he was talking about how they took a certain paint that they put on the dinosaur bones because they're covered to cover the radiation. So this is something people don't hear about, and it's proof there is an
Because it does not fit the narrative.
Right. Remember the giant skeletons they were burying out in sea?
It's what Nick said earlier. It's like all history is going to have to be rewritten so unbelievably. It's not even funny.
They're proving, and it actually, what annoys them the most is that a lot of the Bible or the biblical teachings, which are based on ancient texts, which were before 9,000 years, which are probably, as what the crew was saying, don't forget to mention the Hall of Records that were in different places. And there's still the Hall, well, getting this one, the Hall of Records is still in the Tibetan mountains because the space people, and I visited there from space, we visited these people, and they had, it was an environment that was perfectly for keeping these ancient texts or ancient papyrus and things that they wrote on.
So how old would you think the texts are?
Oh, that, again, thousands and thousands of years old, probably 20,000. There's stuff there that nobody's seen on planet Earth, but they have stuff, not just in the rocks, as we all know, like Gokapili Tepe and all those places with the laser effects. So that's what I just wanted to let that go again. The Great Flood was 9564 BC. That would be the biblical flood we all know about, with Noah and those people. So that's,
I mean, it was recorded all over the world.
you know, they said, oh, there's people out there saying that the arcs are the spaceships, but we have another version. We know the arcs because I've been on the ships when we rescued people from Atlantis, and for people we rescued.
That's right.
And we met few people in our past. Some of them are passed on now, who remembered when they met me. They're psychics and intuitives. They went, "You're the one that rescued me off the mountain. You were there," and they described me as my own overpart. So we know this,
It's gonna happen
and it
again,
happens.
but
So they do rescue.
gonna happen
This
again.
is normal. We rescue people all around. Cataclysms occur with the solar events that happen. So you've seen the planets in our solar system going through lots of changes, and their magnetic poles are shifting as ours is moving fast. This, again, my favorite thing, I don't like to say it, but they've been watching the suns from the center of our galaxy central area coming towards our solar area, our sun, changing in frequency. Then they have a micronova. Our sun is now displaying the chemicals in the sun that are not there normally, that happen when a solar event's going to occur.
that are pre-nova,
Pre-nova.
pre-micronova.
And it's happening now, right this minute, but they won't talk about it. But notice how they're all trying to escape planet Earth and making rocket ships and do things and get out of the way, or go underground as far as they can, or get to the moon and get to the other side of the moon. Because the moon, as you see, is the way you see it now, has gone through solar events. And that's why it's all bleached out in white, yes. But when they went there to look, they picked up the dirt because they knew it had a solar event. And the dirt of the moon is filled with little glass balls of nodules when a heat event occurs. And that's in the deserts too. They've seen in our deserts here on Earth. And has everybody heard about the ships that are underground, the spaceships that are being found? I've been talking about this for 30, 50 years, it feels like. I told people in the 60s, did you know there's a spaceship under the Sahara Desert? It goes right down like that. Now I can say it. I'm saying it to people in some of our lectures. There is a ship in the Sahara Desert underground. It's a giant ship, and it was like a teaching ship as well as a ship to save and help. As we like to take the plants and animal species at times and take them away, and they're fine. We have dinosaurs, we have mammoths, we have all these animals you've ever seen here in other places, and animals we've never seen on Earth that they can bring here. And so that's when these new species show up. They do that. The crew and the other beings do this too. So they call them seed. The Earth people call them the cedar races, meaning seeding. But this is botanists and people like that. They are out there like us, people like us, and they're out there and they're bringing these species into planets that can handle it now. So that's why mammoths knows how to leave, because the Earth was shifting in a different way for their presence to be around. But there are a few mammoths left, and there are a few dinosaurs left. And I seen one when I was 12 years old. So, and I saw a creature in the lake too, as well. These are not dinosaurs, though. They're mammal-like. Like Nessie is like a mammal. So these beings exist. Were they created by the Atlanteans? Some beings in those days were created. Some of them were, because they have scientists like today who are playing with the genetics, and they were doing it back then, and that's what's going on. So we might be seeing other beings or species of animals coming in that are being manipulated. But we have other theories. We know some other things, like who's Dog Man, Bigfoot. They're natural beings, but were they genetically, was Dog Man genetic, or was he something genetically from there that worked here? They're huge. So who are they?
They've been around for a long time. They're in mythology, especially the Amazon mythologies with the dog people.
More pervasive than people realize.
Like Anubis might have been that creature that was there. They're all over the place. They're in Pennsylvania. They're in Kentucky. They're everywhere. So and they're not dogs.
They're not hostile.
No, they're not. But they attack, maybe come to attack and threaten, but usually they don't really try to hurt people. But one did tumble with somebody one time. But the thing is they're highly intelligent. They're smart as we are, and they're telepathic, and some can talk. As like Bigfoot, some can talk.
Yeah, we started the Mythic Monsters podcasts and videos for that. We took a little break for a couple of months, but that's starting again. Hopefully this month, if not definitely by next month, because yes, there are a lot of things out there in the forests, and not in wild inaccessible places, but near us, where there's all sorts of things happening, and some, as you know, can shift between the different dimensions or the different levels, or the different frequencies, and some can't. But they're there, and it doesn't take very much for you to be able to tap into them and interact with them. And they're all over the place. It's amazing how many intelligences we share this planet with that are totally unrecognized.
Oh yeah, and they've known about them. I once read a story back in Germany, World War II, and some guys were there and they got killed, and they were getting their information to get to the men to come with their jeeps to get their bodies. And when the guys came to get the bodies, I think they were Germans, they came to get their bodies. There were these dog guys tearing them apart and trying to eat them, and they shot at them. So when they described them, they were describing what was basically a dog, what we call today a dog man. And I'd like to know their name for themselves, because I'm going to go try to find that out on the other side. What they call themselves. They're not calling themselves dog men. But,
I'm sure.
I mean, what do you call your people? But they're people. To me, they're people, and they have souls like we do. And so does every animal and dog and cat and horse we see has soul like we have. So when we do something to a dog or cat or a horse or anything without giving blessings for them in some way, when I got to the other side, I'm over there all the time helping and seeing people on the other side who passed on. I've always known this from Yehoshua or Sananda, that what you do to a dog, a cat, or horse, or any kind of animal, if you're abusive to it, and like humans are a lot of times in the past, abusive to their pets because they don't think they have any mind, they are true. When you get to the other side and you're reviewed, it's seen what you did to an animal, the same as what you did to a child,
So that's your
a
karma.
little child.
Oh, wow.
Because they're innocent and they look to us as protector. And when the protector or their God,
But I just want to jump
hurt
in.
them, they don't
I
understand.
have to just end this. If you eat meat, which we do, pray over your food.
Yeah.
Pray over your food. Just give thanks for your food.
Give thanks to that
Always,
animal.
always.
I'm telling everybody always, if you had
So that,
beef, see it glowing in
but
white
that's
light.
just to make the distinction between abusing an animal
Yeah.
and not being grateful for the animal's
Yeah, for the
sacrifice that they
sacrifice.
knew they would be making before they came in here.
Yep.
So
Chickens and cows and goats and sheep know that they're coming in a short form of a life as a sacrificial animal to help in the growth of and by helping the humans or whoever that way, and the dogman maybe, but helping them, they're raising their own by that gift of their sacrifice. And this is something people didn't know. And donkeys as well. I know people don't probably eat donkeys, but maybe they do somewhere. Donkeys are very smart and very, very kind and gentle animals, and give them respect. People make fun of them and calling them an ass. That's their name in their species.
People
maybe,
make fun of
but they
everything.
make fun of things and just don't understand the compassion for the animals. Oh my gosh, I'll rescue a dogman right now if I had to. So they are more than they think people think they are. And I want people to think that when they go out in the woods with their big
Well,
rifles.
let me ask you a question just relevant to Atlantis.
Yeah.
How we treat the animal was were there pets and everything else?
Yes.
Just like there is today?
Yeah, but just like today, we have people who are aware, and just like back then, they had the scientists and people who were manipulating and trying to genetically do things to people and animals as well. So you've heard this crazy manipulation genetic things they did, and basically it's true because they had genetic abilities more than this planet Earth has now, where they could do things that they did combine humans and animals and things, and it's kind of horrific. And not all of us on the realms where we come from liked that. We were against it, and we're kind of against it still to this day, of genetic manipulation.
Well, we're not kind of against it.
We are
We're
against
completely
it.
against it.
Yeah, really. But you're not just supposed to just do that to people or animals. And
yet, those from elsewhere who came here did that to evolve the bodies of the human race.
Right.
And that's still being done in order to house the souls of certain types of aliens. You need particular bloodlines of humans to act as containers for incarnating extraterrestrials. So that's still being done, to my knowledge, here.
I don't think that's a bad
thing.
I
It's
think
not as bad. It's the manipulation of the poor animals and
I think
hurting them
making
in that way.
cryptoids to see if you can, I think that's what's bad.
That's kind of creepy.
If a cryptoid race
Like
exists already,
chupacabras or something.
that's something else. That's a race. So, but it's the manipulation where it's not to the advantage of anything but somebody's curiosity. That's what we're against.
They are doing stuff, and there are things coming through the dimensional spaces that are opened. So we got to watch out always about that. People walk into a field and they disappear. And that's
I think Nick has something to add. Nick, did you?
Well, first of all, I've got 2,189 questions to ask Mark. and that is the short version. I mean, Mark is giving us such advanced information that, I mean, really, I am beyond impressed. I am beyond, I'm humbly saying how wonderful it is to hear someone with this kind of data that is totally changing so much of what we thought we knew into what really is. And Mark, I just want to say to you and to Phyllis, thank you, thank you, thank you, because I'm telling you, it's such a privilege to be able to hear where you're coming from and what you're saying and how enlightening it is on so many levels too.
Thank you.
Well, you deserve to hear that. You both do.
Well, I came back from my wife,
That's
who's
right.
my solar soul. We're soulmates. I've been monitoring this planet with the crew, my other friends, including the Ashtar friends. They're I'm not part of their crew, but we work with them, so they're friends. And when I got the opportunity to be able to come in, when our crew was asking if there's a way for us to get in, because we wanted to not only get back the aspect to my oversoul soulmate, but to maybe while here, help people understand what's going on in the solar system and what's happening
Well, I mean,
on
because,
dimensions.
well, yes, but the cataclysm was really the catalyst.
Yeah, because I did drown around 7 years old. I tell people this crazy story, but I did drown. I was accidentally drowned by some guy, my friend, my brother's friend. He didn't probably know what he did. And I went, whoop, I was going up. And now I'm not a kid when I'm going out. I'm like me, going out and going, oh, here we go. So I see the giant light everybody has to go towards that's full of love, calling you in. It's beautiful. It's diamonds and lights moving. Meanwhile, my angel's with me, and I stopped and I looked at that. And I know if I go there, I'm going through and I'm not
The
coming
body's
back.
dead, yeah.
And I said to her, I said, if I go there, I cannot come back. I said, I'll not have enough time to get another body to get back. She goes, well, you can go back right now because you're not totally dead. The body, you know, when you're drowned, you can still get into them, but they're anyway. So that's what happened. But when I said, I will not have enough time to find another body to get in, because these are reject bodies when you get in as a person coming in as a walk-in. So mine was going to be a stillborn. It was stillborn. It was stillborn. It was dead when I got into it. But this is what happened. So when I said that, I remembered saying it to her, and I even when I came back, I never forgot what happened, of course. And I was like, I'm saying that because when I told my father what was happening, I said, things are going to happen. We don't have a lot of time, to get it together. So now as I got older and I was going out all the time, it was made clear to me what is really going on. So I saw the energy we're moving into. I saw what we call the blue energy field. Earth might see it as a different color by scientists, I don't know. But we saw what was going on and what's happening to the planet, what's going to happen. So basically the warning is, if you want to get off this first plane density of what's going to be happening to the planet, raise your consciousness. Of course, everybody knows about that. Get the light around you, get the diamond lights around your energy field as well, but start raising your consciousness to the creator, because the creator is who you will go towards. If we get killed, if we drown, or if we're taken on the ship, they can help us, and they can help people live there and stay there for a while. Some of the ships can transform us if we're allowed to have that blessing. So I've been on the ships where you transform. You get taken on, you teleported, or taken on a beam, or walk on a plank, it doesn't matter. Walk up a ramp, and you get on, and you can get higher frequency. They do this if a person can handle it. So consciousness raising and all of that is very good. That's what it's supposed to be doing, so that you can raise the consciousness level and the frequencies of your energy field and body, soul body, to the higher frequency. Because when we get to the ships, we can only get down to the certain levels we're acclimated to at the frequency we're in.
On the ships, because the ships are multiple frequencies.
Yeah, so they won't take a person that's murdering and killing babies. That energy field is dark. That person could not even get on a ship. There'll be barriers out, that frequency barrier. If you're running to that ship and you're of a high mind of love and all, you'll be right through the frequency. But if you're coming to murder, take, and steal the ship, they'll be buffered. They won't be able to go through the frequency. These are protections they have that they can do to save and rescue. And if you've got a pet, and your pets are welcome. So I said to somebody, if you're riding your horse in the field, like, whoop, 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 everything's going, the ships are there, you and your horse are on. So it's, and they have ways for doing that. It's okay. But
so in essence, they're giant arcs.
Yes. Yeah. And so I'm going to say, dogmen, come. Yeah. Bigfoot's on the way. That's why you see Bigfoot around UFOs, some of them.
Yes.
And Bigfoot and Dogman too, because they are attuned with them. And some creatures that are Bigfoot, I know this is off our Atlantis, but you know what? Bigfoot was back then too. So we have some of them are not of the earth. They really are not our Bigfoot, but they resemble a Bigfoot. They might have 3 toes or something like that. And they are the ones also that can teleport or move through time, as you say. When you see them by a tree, all of a sudden there's nobody there anymore. They can do that. And some of our regular Bigfoots can do that because they've seen it. They've seen them. You've heard the stories, right? Where they're walking, trying to footprints in the snow, and they stop, and there's no more foot.
Yes.
What happened? Did he teleport by a crew, or was he frequencied off? He just went to the next frequency. His footprints are over there. That's what they can do, and they're very highly intelligent. And since Phyllis and I saw one on the side of a road back in 1997, when we were driving out to North Carolina, Outer Banks. It was Route 95, heading through Virginia with that deep forest there. And we're coming along the highway, and Phyllis was driving, and we're on the outer lane, the fast lane. We're going down, it's like 12 to 1 a.m. in the morning. And we see the sign for the highway, the big green sign with the white letters that reflects. There's a big thing in front of it. And we're going, why would they put a tree in front of the sign? We moved to the right slow lane to see this. And as we're getting slower and slower, Phyllis slowed the car down to like 25 miles an hour as we were coming towards this that we saw was not a tree.
We knew it was an animal.
Saw it was a but first you're going, a bear doesn't stand on the side of the road, and you see ears. This was a Bigfoot. And it was
have a head and shoulders either.
Head with shoulders out to gigantic. So as we slowed down, this road had no pull off. If you had a flat tire, you can only pull 3 feet into sand and you still be in the road with your flashers. So I was saying that, looking, I said, Phyllis, there's nowhere even a car to pull over if something happened. But here's the thing, we're coming up on him, and she slowed the car down, and our car at the time had lights on it that reflected on the side of the car. Like
Grand Marquis.
It was a Grand Marquis. So in between your main doors, your front and back door, there was an 11-inch long light that was about 1 inch wide that came down. It was an off-white light. So that illuminated. Lights in the front and the back illuminated the sides. So if you went across a highway, you'd see the car. So with that, I don't have in my car today, but back then it was amazing. So I went like to the window looking at as we come across this guy. He's now 4 feet from the car. He's of the road, off the hill, a little bit of hill. And all I could see up from his tummy up. And he was already tummy up here. So the rest of him, maybe 10 feet, 9 feet. The rest of him was behind the wall of the grasses he was in. But when I looked at him, he was just standing there. He was so benevolent. Serene, just a beautiful face.
Wow.
I looked up at him, I telepathically and whispered to him, even though my windows were closed. I said, we love you. I said, stay safe. We love you. And as the car slowly drove, his eyes followed me like that. And he did a little smile. And, now his mouth was human looking, elongated with lips. He had a nose like we have, a small short nose with a bulbous tip, like a little Santa Claus nose, you'd think. And his eyes were human-like, brown eyes, and he had light reflecting in them. He had the hair going around here, a little bit like this, just like that, the mustache effect. And it was coming down like that. So he did have the skin here, and the skin was a tan. He wasn't black, he wasn't white, he was a tan. So his skin, his hair was like 4 inches. I was looking at everything. I was saying, that's like 4 to 5 inches long hair all around him. And you could see the hairs. And I sketched them. And when you look at them, you say, this is a humanoid looking Bigfoot. Some look ape-like, but he did not have any of the ape-like effects. And when his eyes followed me, I got a feeling of peace and like an energy of love. When we said, be safe, we love you, be safe on the highway, be safe. Well, they like to watch. But he was enough off the lights of our headlights that you couldn't see him directly on a headlight. He was just enough off the road where car headlights would see a silhouette and you'd see something stand there, but not get a direct look. And that's how they play the shadows. So these beings, I believe also, since we've seen them in the past, are from the ancient times as well, from ancient Atlantean times. They're all just other races. And we have to see they're not just an animal, they're a race. They're race.
And on that note, we have to end today's conversation. Before we leave, though, I'd like for all three of you to share how people can find you and join the wonderful adventures that you're on. And we'll start with Nick Curto.
Okay, thank you, Hercules. I have Disclosure Network New York, and we are right now doing 2 Zoom meetings a month with speakers, guest speakers, and a Q&A. And then we also have picnics in Central Park, right behind the Met. In fact, we're going to have one tomorrow starting from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And if anybody would be interested, email me and I can give you directions. We'd love to have you. My email address is NICKNYNY1, and that's the numeral 1, not ONE, but the numeral 1 at gmail.com. Again, NICKNYNY1 at gmail.com. Love to hear from you, your comments or your questions. Please let me know.
Thank you very much, Nick. Marc and Phyllis.
Okay. All right. Marc Brinkerhoff, Marc with a C, Brinkerhoff at yahoo.com is our email.
Go to.
And that's on all of our websites. So you contact us there, you'll get us. Marc@Brinkerhoff.com is my animal website. We see animal art and dinosaurs, I think, too. Marc Brinkerhoff on Facebook, UFOs or so, and intergalacticmission.com and etuniversalzone.com, where you'll see archives.
And YouTube.
Yeah, those are my YouTube. Marc Brinkerhoff YouTube. I think that's all. That's it.
I think that's it.
That's it.
And Marc,
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Nick,
This show will be on YouTube hopefully by tonight at midnight. And I will send you both a link as soon as it goes public. And we are going to be continuing with Mythic Atlantis for quite a while. As I mentioned before, expanding into different other prehistoric civilizations that are other pieces of this puzzle as well. And we'll be relaunching our inquiry into ancient peoples from elsewhere who came here and had a part of our evolution. With Mythic Atlantis, we're also going to be doing some things in the modern world. Over New York, especially over New York Harbor, there is in the etheric plane an Atlantean temple to the 12 solar hierarchies. And mostly the theosophists have kept this knowledge public, but it's there and it can be easily accessed. And I never knew it was on top of New York because I can go to these places with thought. So it's a thought away. It's not geographic for me, but the theosophists say it's there, and I have no reason to disbelieve them. But there, the focus is on equality and liberty, and the westernmost gate of Atlantis of long ago has become the eastern gate of the United States, and where we are is that focal area. The Statue of Liberty and the words on the Statue of Liberty are modern manifestations of that energy. So I'm going to be focusing a lot on voting and equality so that we are all equal and that we all have a voice. And that'll be something we'll talk about on podcast, but something that we'll be doing in the outer world as well. So stay tuned for that. I'll be asking folks to join that adventure if they want. Marc, you raised your hand?
Yeah. What you just described is true, and it's on another dimensional frequency right with us. That's where you can go to these different places, and even all the things that have occurred on our planet, even mythologies, are there on these different dimensional planes. That's when you visit these places, and I just forgot. I'm available for consultations and for Oversoul, Angel, and Guardians, and readings like that for people who want to contact me. I just forgot to say that it's the only job I got next to being on your show.
Well, thank you. And Marc is quite awesome, as you can see here, and in his many appearances on both the audio podcast and the visual Zoom YouTube shows. And we have other things that are transpiring. I shared it with some with Marc and some with Nick, and we'll get to those when we cross those bridges. But there's a lot of exciting stuff that will be happening for the rest of the year, and I have all of next year planned out too. So even if a fraction of these things actually come to pass, we're in for some really exciting times. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Until next time, this is us wishing you joyous journeys and amazing adventures. Thanks again, Nick. Thanks again, Marc. And thanks again, Phyllis. We got to see even less of you, Phyllis. There you go. Take care, everybody.
Much love to everyone.
Planet